Good afternoon. I'm Erica Heald, and welcome to this edition of Content Chat. We're still in the heat of the summer, so this is one of our special short editions, which is the perfect time for something that I've been meaning to record and talk about for a long time. If you read my newsletter today, then you already know what we're going to be talking about. But for those of you who don't, today we're going to be talking about something that comes up just about every time I end up meeting with another content marketing professional or writing professional and talking about something that is this completely never talked about skill that is so crucial to working well in a collaborative writing and editing process. And that skill is knowing how to use the reviewing tools that are built in to whatever platform you're using. What I'm going to spend the next minute or so, literally minute or so, talking about is going to literally save you so much time if you have that person on your team currently who, instead of being able to give you those track changes in a document, sends you a 5-paragraph essay email, or worse yet, goes into the document that you've carefully formatted and prepared and starts writing in all caps, or highlighting things, or using the strike through or other kinds of fancy formatting to try to get their point across. This is a much better way, and you'll be able to share this recording with them to show them how to make both of your lives a little easier and your collaboration a lot more efficient. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take a look at this outline for a presentations deck. It's the perfect kind of piece to show you all the different things that you might want to do as a reviewer when you are working on a document. All right, so here's the deal. You are going to start out in editing mode. You always just start out in editing mode, which is the little pencil up at the top right of your toolbar. It'll say editing, and that means you're editing the document directly. So anytime you type something in there, no one can see that you typed something like "this is great." All right, cool. You typed in "this is great" as a comment. Well, if somebody is reading too quickly, they might not see these words "this is great" down here added as a comment. So there is a better way to do it. And that is, you take the text that you like, that you think is great, and you hit that little comment, ticker, and you type in "this is great" and hit comment. So anytime you want to give some feedback on a specific word, you just go ahead, you click that little chat bubble there, and you add a comment. If you just want to say something is fantastic without saying words, you can even leave an emoji. You've got lots of good options for how to do things. And similarly, if you absolutely can't stand something and think that it's useless, go ahead, you can select it and you can give that feedback, or you can go into suggesting mode and suggest, hey, let's just take it out completely. So by changing from editing mode into suggesting mode, which was that second item on there, you have enabled it to make it very clear that you want something to be taken out. You can also do it when you just want to change a word or add some copy in. All of those kinds of things you can go in when you are in the suggesting mode, and it will make it very visibly obvious to the person whose content you're editing that you have some suggested edits. And if you want to give them some context around why you've made an edit, you can actually reply underneath this place where it's noted that you were the one who made the edit and put whatever the reason is. So obviously we're leaving completely ridiculous comments here just to amuse me mostly, but also just so that you could see you do have a lot of options in ways to give feedback here that make it be a lot more like it used to be when we would be writing on paper that we were handing back to somebody, versus today when we go in. It's so easy for people to accidentally, when they're in editing mode, ruin content. I know that very frequently I hear from folks, hey, what happened to this content that was in this page? I know I had 3 bullets under slide 3. Where is it? Well, of course, we know that you can, if you're using Google Docs, go back into the version history and go down and you'll see where it was edited, but not everybody can do that immediately after an edit has been made. So they may not know which of the versions was it in. And nobody, frankly, wants to go through several versions trying to figure out where was that piece of content that was taken out. So the better way of doing it is whenever you want to do something like that, you go ahead and you suggest your edits. And that way it's very clear what you're suggesting adding. So let's say you wanted to add a bullet. And then you put in the copy that you think should go there. And you've got it right there. And again, you can give more context or feedback to why you're making your edits or additions right underneath where you've made the edit or addition. Similarly, let's say you were taking things out because you were concerned about how something was going to appear on the page. Well, the thing is that when you are going in and you're adding content and you're subtracting content, you can't always tell what it's going to look like in the final version until everything's been accepted. Well, what you can do is you can go into viewing mode after you've actually, if you're having issues with where you can't actually see where everything is. But one of the things that you do need to be aware of is when you're in viewing mode, you're not going to see any of those comments and suggestions for editing. What you are going to see, however, is just, what the copy is that is still outstanding. So once we go ahead and let's say if we had all of this and you were unable, because of the screen, you were unable to see everything and you're trying to understand how is this copy really going to look? Is it going to feel this squished? Because that feels a little squished. So you wouldn't necessarily want to do that. Well, again, that's a good use for viewing mode where you can go ahead and see what is it going to look like without the interference from all of those comments on the side. So I don't use that a lot, but I do use it occasionally when there's a lot of comments on the page or a lot of back and forth, and it hasn't been 100% clear what it is that is going to be the final copy. Or when I'm on a laptop and I just don't have as much real estate and want to do that first read through where I'm understanding what all the copy is that was there before people got in and started making a bunch of edits. Because that's the other thing, is sometimes it can be really hard to understand what someone was trying to do with a piece of content if there have been too many people adding, subtracting, and getting in there and playing with all of the words on the page. So I hope that this has been a super easy, super quick introduction to how to use the editing tools in Google. So that way you can share it with somebody who needs either a little refresher or maybe they just never have been shown how to use those tools. And as a bonus, when I publish this super short recap, I'm going to put in there as a bonus a section on how to create an account, a Google account that'll have your name and your photo, just like you saw for me, even though you're not using a Gmail address. Because that's one of those things that people don't seem to always realize, is that even if you have a company that does not use Google as your provider for email or for your collaboration platform. So even if, let's say, you're in a Microsoft Office kind of a setting, if you're going to regularly be collaborating with folks who are using Google Drive, you actually can set up a free Google Drive account. So that way, every time you're making an edit, it doesn't just say Anonymous Wombat. Because even though that's pretty cute and adorable, I don't know if I should trust Anonymous Wombat or Miscellaneous Koalas edits. Like, who has more weight, right? So it can be really helpful in order to make sure that you can see who is giving those edits to. So check out the recap on the blog post later this week for that little bonus effort. And until next time, here's hoping that you're able to save yourself from at least one random act of content thanks to today's conversation. Bye, everybody.